Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. It is the 13th of December. I don't know what's that, 12 more sleeps before Christmas? It's 11 o'clock Central European time. We are coming to you today with, it's one of those days today. We have the FOMC meeting. I think we'll start with that first. We've got the FOMC meeting. We're going to talk about what the implications are for that today and tomorrow. I think the markets are going to be a bit choppy, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the ETF meetings. Now, something very important has happened. Very, very important has happened to ETFs. And we're going to go over that. It's gone past the point now of the SEC being obstructive to the point now where they're trying to actually make ETFs more expansive than they were. So we're going to talk about that. Rect Capital, what's their Bitcoin price prediction? We're going to have a quick look at the Solana price and whether we think it is going to come down as Pizzy recommends. We're going to look at Nubank and Bitcoin Yoda, and then we're going to have the quiz. So it's a busy day. I wouldn't say it's as busy as some of the days we've had, but that's mainly because I think today is the calm before the storm. So, where are we? Good morning, Lidong. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining us. It's nice to see a regular face pop into chat. Okay, so where are we? The market is down 2%. We're still over 1.5 trillion. The volume has come down considerably as well. That's important. It could be a sign that we are cooling off. It could be a sign that potentially we've reached a bottom. But again, we're going to go through that. We're going to have a look at the two prices. They haven't changed, but we're going to look at the two prices I think Bitcoin could be at this time on Friday. So we're going to have a look at that. Bitcoin dominance still over 52%. Ethereum dominance is just fading into the night at 16.9%. So that is where we are with the markets. We're down a touch. What are we up on? We are up on ELF. We are going to do a couple of videos about ELF. We're going to do a price prediction video, and we're also probably going to do a project review on ELF. It is a token I have never heard of. I noticed it yesterday. I'm going to have a look at it. The market cap is a decent size to be reviewed now, so we're going to go and look at that. FTT token, as I've said 1,000 times before, don't touch it. It's from a dead exchange that doesn't exist. Neo is up a tad. Cosmos, ICP is up. Osmosis. Osmosis is an interesting project. I am probably going to go and have a look at that as well at some point. HBAR is up just a touch. And losers, Bonk has been crushed in the last 24 hours, but it is still up 300% plus over the last 30 days. Aave is down a little bit, but again, we're up 100%. Synthetic is down. Audi, Helium, Multiverse, there's a few losers. But on the whole, I don't think the markets have reacted that badly. We went through yesterday what the issue was with Elizabeth Warren. Is it just that, or is it an opportunity to drive the price down and get the institutional investors get some cheaper Bitcoin before Christmas? It would be a nice Christmas present for them if they could get it below $40,000. So we're going to have a little look at that in a minute. So let's start off. Again, we're not going to do too many charts today. We're only going to do Bitcoin and we're only going to do Solana. We're not going to do 3 or 4 charts today. Today is more of a news day. I think either tomorrow or Friday is when we'll get the charts out again, because that's when we're going to have the reaction to the FOMC meeting. And I'm going to go through why that's so important. Every FOMC meeting is the most important one, but this one could hold a bearing on where not just crypto, but where the stocks and bond market can go in the next 6 months. But let's start off with the news that BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF now invites participation from Wall Street banks. A change to the structure of proposed spot Bitcoin ETFs would enable authorized participants to create new shares in the fund with cash rather than only with cryptocurrency, essentially opening the doors to banks who cannot hold crypto directly. So this is a bit of a sea change, and I believe this is what the SEC has been asking them to do over the last couple of weeks. They've sat down with Fidelity and BlackRock and Vanguard, also with Cathie Wood, ARK Invest. They've sat them all down and basically gone through how the ETFs are going to work. We've covered it before. They all have to work in the same way. It's difficult to ask an auditor to audit 15 different ways that an ETF can work. So they've got some basic ground rules of how it's going to work, and they all need to stick to it. But this is now huge news, because what does this do? This now opens up other banks to get involved with the BlackRock ETF. Not just the BlackRock ETF, but the other ETFs that are going to come on board. And this gives banks direct access. And if it gives banks direct access, who do you think banks are going to give access to after them? Of course, it's possibly going to be retail, but most certainly other corporate clients that they have on their books, because banks don't want to be losing the liquidity to BlackRock and the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. So a change to the mechanics of the proposed spot Bitcoin ETF. BlackRock recently made it so authorized participants, a vital part of the ETF ecosystem, will be able to create new fund shares with cash rather than only with cryptocurrency, as highly regulated US banks are unable to hold Bitcoin themselves. Now, don't forget that BlackRock and other ETF funds, they will not be able to hold the Bitcoin themselves either. They need another custodian, and we all know who that custodian is. It's the one in America. Everything's been taken away from the market to allow this company to become the custodian. So even though BlackRock have the Bitcoin ETF, they will not be directly holding the Bitcoin themselves. So just bear that in mind. There is going to be a separation between each of these ETFs and the physical Bitcoin itself. They're going to be held in another location. So the cash APs used in this process can then be exchanged into Bitcoin by an intermediary and warehoused by the ETF's custody provider. Optimism has grown that the spot Bitcoin ETFs will soon be approved by the SEC, which would be a game changer for digital assets moving forward. Of course, we know this. Anything else that needs to comment? If the SEC accepts this revised dual model of create and redeem with cash and physical, that means the liquidity that supports the ETF shares when they trade would be increased, because obviously you have more potential APs as part of the process. Now, of course, one thing to mention about Bitcoin ETFs. Do I like them? No. Do I like BlackRock and Fidelity and traditional finance being involved in crypto in this way? No, I do not. But there has to be more than one way to skin a cat. We cannot have everybody... Not everybody's going to have the knowledge and understanding on how to use a crypto exchange. The same way that people that trade in stocks and shares that use, these IG platforms or eToro platforms, whatever, people can use them and great. That's a certain level of investor. There are going to be people that have pensions that just don't know how to do any of this stuff. So, although I don't like them, I think they're a necessary evil to open the door for retail to be able to buy and hold Bitcoin. Now, don't forget, Bitcoin is an inflation hedge. It's supposed to be an asset that you go to in times of high inflation, and like gold, an asset that you go to when the world is in turmoil from whatever reason it might be. So if your grandmother owns one Bitcoin via the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, it doesn't matter. She's still got the hedge against inflation that Bitcoin is there to solve. Yes, BlackRock are going to take a percentage every year, but she will have that opportunity the same way that she's got the opportunity with gold to hold that as an asset, as an inflation hedge, if you like. So Bitcoin being available to real retail investors has to be a good thing. The issue is, of course, that I'm just not a fan of the BlackRocks and Fidelities because they're so big. they can actually change the direction and the strategy of companies. They can force CEOs to resign. They're too big. And I think in any other country in the world outside of America, BlackRock would not be allowed to exist because it's too big a company. It's too big a financial might. And what they do is they use your shares that you have with BlackRock. They use your shares to bully companies into doing what they want. So they're not whiter than white. They're not a shining white horse. They're not Gandalf on the hill on the fourth day. They are a necessary evil to get retail to crypto, because without these ETFs, it's going to be difficult to get the amount of people into Bitcoin that we want. That is the issue. So although I'm not a fan, this is big news. And once this allows banks to get involved, those banks can, of course, get you involved, and you'll be able to buy $100 worth of Bitcoin shares through your bank at some point in the near future. Now, one thing I'm going to mention is that we're going to drop the red envelope at 11:20. So according to my time now, it's 11:10. So in 10 minutes, we're going to drop the red box, the red envelope, whatever it's called. We are going to be dropping that. We do that at 20 past 11 every day. So if you come to the stream, the two things to bear in mind is we do the red boxes at 11:20 and we do the quiz about 11:45. So if you're here just for the quiz, come back in half an hour and you'll catch the quiz. If you're here for the red box, it'll be another 10 minutes. Now we're going to go and talk about the FOMC. So the FOMC meeting is basically how they decide the economy is looking and how they decide how they're going to move forward with interest rates, how inflation looks, how house prices look, those kind of things. So it's a very important meeting, but bear in mind these meetings happen I want to say 11 times a year, because I believe there is 1 month of the year where they don't have them. I think there's only 10 or 11 of these meetings a year. And obviously this is the pre-Christmas one. And of course the last one before next year, and next year is the presidential election in America. I've talked about this before. We are not going to see interest rate hikes in 2024. We're going to see interest rates coming down. And as I have been saying for a few months now, in the first 4 months of 2024, we are going to see ETFs being approved. We are going to see the Bitcoin halving, and we're going to see interest rates come down. When interest rates come down, mortgages comes down. The cost of money comes down. That puts more money into the stock market. It puts more money into the banking system, the loans, the credit system. It changes the landscape. And Joe Biden, as the president of America, he will want lower interest rates at the end of next year. So this pain that we're seeing now is going to start to ease between now and June next year. So what we're expecting today is either one of two things: either a 0.25% rate hike to put it up to 5.5 or whatever it is at the minute. If it's 5, it's going to 5.25, or freeze. Now, I think the year-on-year CPI came in, was it 3.1% yesterday? So the CPI, the inflation rate in America, is at 3.1%. He wants it at 2 to 2.5%, so it's still a little bit too high for him. But again, these interest rate hikes have been something which they lag. So they make these changes and then they have to wait 6 months or so for them to take effect and hit the market. The same way the Bitcoin halving happens in April, it doesn't really kick in until the November or the December of the same year. So with this, so the CPI data came in, and there is going to be the decision by the Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC, leading to an escalation in Bitcoin price volatility this week, which is what I am expecting. So inflation came in at 3.1%. Now, if you follow this on a chart, or if you followed me for some time, I'm going to show you a website. And again, I don't expect you to go off and follow this with an eagle eye. It's a reference point. And the reference point is this. Now, what this does is this shows you the actual real interest rate in America. The website's called Trueflation. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. I have made a video about them in the past because I like what they do. And the two main inflation rates that they have focused on in the past has been the UK, which again is coming down rapidly, and of course the US, which has come down to 2%. But as you can see, what happens a lot of the time with inflation is it will drop dramatically and then bounce. Now, the problem that Chairman Powell has got is he doesn't want deflation. Deflation is where the cost of goods becomes cheaper than it was last year, but it also means the economy doesn't grow. And what he wants to do is have a situation where the economy is growing with inflation staying around about the same rate. So if the economy grows by 2 or 3%, he wants inflation to be 2.5%. So where are we with Chairman Powell? We believe, okay, where's the end of this bit? Set the stage. Federal Reserve Chairman Powell to provide a summary of economic projections at the 13th meeting, which is today. Now, as far as I'm aware, he has the meeting today, and then on Thursday they have the AMA, where Chairman Powell will come out and what he's going to say. Now, what's important is two things. Are they going to put interest rates up? The market thinks it's going to go up by 0.25%. We've already said that. But is he going to have hawkish, which is bearish, words in his talk, or is he going to have dovish, which is bullish news? I think he is going to stay bearish. He's going to stay hawkish as long as he can, because the second he sounds positive about the economy, the stock market and crypto is going to pump. So I think this is going to be one of those days where the price of Bitcoin could move $1,000 up and $1,000 down in the space of 5 minutes and then come back to where we are now. So I think that's all I want to cover on that. So today and tomorrow, expect some volatility. And one of the things I try and do, especially tomorrow, is I don't trade. I do not trade between midday and probably 4 p.m., 5 p.m. because that's when the announcement comes out about the interest rates, and the markets will go everywhere. People will be betting long, people will be betting short, that the interest rates don't go up or they do go up, whatever it might be. So tomorrow's going to be the big day of fluctuation, and potentially this market dip is more correlated to the FOMC meeting than it is with Elizabeth Warren. Now we're going to move on. Before we look at the Bitcoin chart, we're going to look at what Rect Capital have said about where they think Bitcoin is going to go. There we go. So the 2024 Bitcoin halving expert predictions point to major Bitcoin price surge. Now, as you'll know, we've looked at many different price targets in the last couple of weeks, some even going as ridiculously high as $17 million, which would mean that Bitcoin replaces all of the assets in the world with Bitcoin. Absolute nonsense. At the time, I said I think the top out price for Bitcoin at this moment in time would be under $1 million. Given inflation, probably in 10 years' time, we could be touching $1 million per Bitcoin. That's a long way away. Good morning, Kishan. Also, a big thank you to Kishan. He has become an OG member. So thank you, Kishan, for that. It is greatly appreciated, and I hope you've been making the gains on the videos that we have been posting for you. So Rect Capital recently posted a theory outlining the live phases of the Bitcoin halving. The first phase, the pre-halving period, is marked by potentially lucrative investment returns following any major price drops. According to the analyst, we're currently in this phase as we're going between 40 and 44,000. We know this bit. As the halving nears, a pre-halving rally is expected. however, is often followed by a pre-halving retrace, as seen in 2016-2020 with 38 and 20% drops. Now, there's the buy the rumor, sell the news. That's the motto. And at some point, what's going to happen with Bitcoin is we're going to have a run up. I don't know when we're going to have a run up. We're going to have a real run up. Maybe we hit 60,000 in April, May, March next year. But from my recollection, every time we have the halving, the price has dropped. And that's when I think there's going to be the small correction. So what could potentially play out is we have an end of December rally to maybe 48, 50,000. Then January, we have the news about the ETFs and we have a pump. And that pump takes us through to April, where we go between $50,000 and $60,000, potentially, not financial advice, of course. Then the halving happens and we will have a sell-off. Again, could it bring us back down to 35,000? I don't think so. I think it might bring us down to the 45 to 50 level. I think it might even be like a 20% sell-off, 15% sell-off. And then we'll slowly start to accumulate in value between maybe June next year, the end of next year, and then all of 2025. Some people are saying that the blow-off or the blow-off top, the all-time high, will come next year. I'm not sure about that. It's always been 18 months after the halving, which would put us at roughly December of 2025. So he is predicting that we are going to move up and have a correction, as we've always done, which ties in with the charts. So Scott Melker, known as the Wolf of All Streets, aligns that Bitcoin will hit $100,000 by the end of 2024. That, I imagine, is also to do with the Bitcoin ETFs, the inflation rate coming down, the new presidential election campaign. These ETFs, potentially including Bitcoin and Ethereum, are anticipated to attract significant institutional investment. The bank also notes that Bitcoin's growing market dominance, feeling optimism for a quicker price increase. Now, there is one other thing I wanted to mention about this, which I've very quickly skipped over, is we need to cover a scenario where Ethereum has an ETF and BlackRock becomes the big dog. Remember, Ethereum is proof of stake, which means it's controllable. What happens if we get to a situation where BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity, ARK Invest own 30, 40 million Ethereum? They can then start to change how the ecosystem looks. That's a problem. The other problem which I want to try and cover in a video is what is stopping Bitcoin being turned into proof of stake? What are the steps that somebody like BlackRock could try and force Bitcoin down to force Bitcoin to be proof of stake? So that's something I'm going to make a video about. I'm not going to do that now, but that's something that I think needs to be addressed, because the elephant in the room is if BlackRock can control companies by simply owning the most shares, what's stopping them from controlling Ethereum, Solana? What's stopping them from trying to control Bitcoin? So that's something I'm going to cover in a different video. I'm not going to cover that now in the slightest. But we are going to have a quick look at the Bitcoin price. Actually, no, we're not. First of all, we're going to drop the boxes. As promised, we are going to drop the boxes. Aimidi, welcome. Yeah, I know. I'm getting there. I am getting there. Just give me 1 second. So give me 30 seconds while I enter the red boxes. If you are not watching on an exchange, we give crypto out on nearly every single stream. We do stream 7 days a week. We have streamed 7 days a week. In fact, I have streamed now for 11. I think we've had 11 consecutive streams. And I think we've missed 3 Sundays in total in the last couple of months. Excuse me. Right, let me drop the red envelope here, and then we will crack on. And we'll have a quick look at the price action. Okay. Now, do me a favor, now that you've got the red envelopes, make sure to press the follow button. Make sure to press the subscribe button, whatever buttons you've got, the like, the love heart, smash the buttons while we go through the price action. That really helps us with our metrics. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get to 100,000 followers across all of the different platforms that we're on. Rick Prototype, welcome. Nice to see you, Ninja. We're trying to get to 100,000 followers across all the platforms, and I think we are at about 74,000. So hopefully, fingers crossed, by March next year, potentially February next year, we're going to be at 100,000 followers. So we're trying to get there as fast as possible. It would be great to get there because that's a big number. From where we started from in January, it was a big number. We've come a long way. We had 0 followers. I think, if we're going to be honest, in January, we had about 200 followers, something like that, across everything. So we've gone from 200 followers to 75,000 followers in a year. Now, that might not sound like a great deal for a lot of these, influencers, whatever it might be, but it's a massive amount for us. In our first year, to go to 75,000, for us, we're really happy. Rick, love you with the envelopes. Listen, the point of them is they are supposed to be, we don't make a lot of money out of streaming, so we try and give out what we can. And basically, the money we give out normally comes from tips. We don't get tips on all platforms, but we get them on most of them. We convert it all into crypto, and then we give it out to people. We do have our own club, the VIP Crypto Club, which I've not mentioned for a long time, simply because we're not at the point of making enough money to give out decent rewards on it. So the giveaways where we can give out $50 or $100 in free crypto, things like that, we can't do that just yet. We're not there. We haven't grown, but the platform is built, and then we're going to be giving away OG memberships, whatever it might be, to people who've already registered. It's been going since July. We are going to work on it. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the business at hand, which is that, and again, I'm not going to be a stuck record. We have been in the same channel. We had the terrible news from Elizabeth Warren. We came back down here. Now we are stuck. We have 2 directions, in my opinion, and I've said this yesterday. We do this, and we come down to 39, and then we get to 38,000. So 38,000 is my worst case scenario right now. Along the way, we do have some levels of support, just under 40,000, 38,800, and then we're going to come down and probably sit on top of this at 38,000. So that's where we are. That's where the negativity lies, is about here, if I put that line there. Now that coincides, if you look, this has been resistance for some time. So if we do come up and come down, we're going to find that huge level there as support. It's just the way it works. Resistance becomes support, and support can become resistance. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet, and we might not get there. If you look, we've had a breakup. We came off the bottom of this. We've peaked here, We've come down. Are we now going to come back up towards 42,000, which is what I thought we would probably try and do yesterday? And if we do, can we get back up towards 43,500? So we do have two directions. And again, the FOMC meeting is going to determine how this plays out. My thinking is that we could do this tomorrow, because if a 1/4 percentage point is already written in, the markets have already priced in the 1/4 percent. That could be the move down here. This could be the move down here. So if it's already priced in, we could see some volatility with a spike down. Maybe we touch on 40,000 and then we come back up. But if we do have some very bearish news from Chairman Powell, maybe we come back down towards 38,000. But at the minute, we've got to get above 42,000 to get back up towards 43s. If we don't, we are still holding this trend line here is still holding. But for how long, I don't know. The trend lines work until they don't. And again, what could happen is we come break down, we come back up, and we can come back into the trend line. That's another possibility. But for me, I'm trying to prepare you for a $38,000 Bitcoin. That's the worst case scenario for me right now, simply because, as I've said, we have history at 38,000. So if tomorrow doesn't go to plan, 38,000 is on the cards. And like I say, that might scare some people, but just remember, we were at 38,000 on the 1st of December. It's 12 days ago. So it's not the end of the world if we do this. Not the end of the world at all. I do still think that we are going to get to 48,000, 50,000 by the end of December. I think we're going to have a spike up. I think we're going to get through this news. If we can break 44,000, I think we're going to go towards $48,000. Now, we're going to move on and talk about a little bit about Solana. Two things to talk about. One, the price action yesterday and today of Solana. Let me bring the chart up. I just want to explain something that happened. So Marinade Finance, which I've been speaking about on here, is a kind of like a liquid staking platform, a little bit like Lido. And yesterday, somebody sold $5 million of MSOL, which is Marinade Finance's pegged version of SOL. And the price came down quite dramatically. Now, it wasn't a hack. There's no hack involved. But what it did was it put us into this. Oops, wrong one. It put us into this quite horrible channel on Solana. And we've come down and we've hit our trend line, which has been here, I imagine, since October time. Yeah, October. So we've come straight back down in this pretty nasty channel. We broke it, and now we have come back up, and we are sitting on this trend line, which we've done before. But we're going to get into that in a minute. So he tried to sell $5 million worth of MSOL. It caused the price of MSOL to depeg for the period of time he tried to sell it. He tried to sell it in one go. It was a rookie mistake. Of course, MSOL went back to parity because MSOL is Solana. It's just matched equally. So it was a minor depeg. Some people bought it and make some profit on it, but MSOL is now back because it's not a leveraged project. It's one for one. So that's possibly the major issue. We've had the price correction on Solana. However, this gentleman here, Jason Pizzino, thinks traders should be wary of Ethereum rivals Solana as it displays a technical pattern reminiscent of its last cycle top. In a new video, he tells his 300,000 subscribers that Solana is currently printing a similar pattern to what it showed when it peaked at $260 in 2021. Does this mean it's the end? Oh, it doesn't mean it's the end. but it looks scary, similar to what happened at the peak. Just on a shorter term time frame, you can see this massive pump up to about 220, the pullback, and then the market attempted to go higher, couldn't do, came underneath, got rejected, and then of course the macro bear market started from that point. He notes that Solana's current resistance level is around $75 to $76. He cautions that Sol's top is not even confirmed yet. Sol is trading at $71. So this was written a long time before. I'm just checking the time. I better get a move on. This was written a long time before what happened today. So what we said, again, these lines are so we had this level here for Solana. That was our next price target, which is 80. And then above that, as you can see, we have this fib level, which ties in with 100. That's where we were expecting. So we were expecting a break above 60, go to 70, 80, and then 100. That was our price target for Solana. We've had a correction. That correction has brought us straight down. If you look at this line here, 65.87, we're at 65.80. We're pretty much sitting on here. Now, what has happened the last few times the price of Solana has been this low? Again, yesterday I pointed this out. With some other tokens, it's done this. Now, again, you follow the patterns. Are we oversold this week on most coins? I would say so. I think we're oversold on the shorter time frames. I think we could see a recovery on Solana if the news tomorrow is slightly bullish, or the market can react in a way that it sees it as being slightly bullish. So what do I see? I see us coming back up towards this. Let me put some lines here. I think we could come up to about this range here. So this range here is about 69.76 to about 74. So I think we could come back into this range. I think that's a possibility because, like I said, we've had a sell-off. It's not been a major sell-off. We've had a sell-off. Some coins are a lot higher than they were this time last week. Some coins have retraced a little bit, but I think when you have an oversold market, the bears are exhausted. It gives the chance to the bulls to then take advantage and pull the prices back up. If Chairman Powell comes out tomorrow and says the US economy is going to tank, we're going to go into a recession, we are going to see deflationary prices next year, then all bets are off. And if all bets are off, then we forget that level, we could come down to here, which is $57. It's impossible for anybody to say what's going to happen, because the one thing you don't do is bet against the Fed. So we need to see what the Fed has to say before we can give any kind of price goals, if you like, for Solana. So if we tank, we could come under $60 towards this area here, which is at 57.80. And that, as you see, like Bitcoin, we have history at that price level. If we come up, again, we could touch these $70 ranges. It all depends on the market. Maybe the market realizes there's going to be a rate pause. If there's a rate pause, I do think we are going to have a pump, but expect volatility. So Solana, I'm not concerned about it. It's come a long way. The macro news has affected it. The macro news has affected everything that we've looked at. The price predictions that we're going to do this evening are probably all going to be wrong tomorrow if the news comes out, which is against what the market thinks. So again, we could do a price prediction on Ethereum and say it's going to go back to $2,300 tomorrow. But if the FOMC meeting happens today and is bearish tomorrow, we might see 2,100. It's very difficult to say. We can only base it on the charts. We can't base it on macro news because we don't, as I say, we don't have a crystal ball. Moving on, we don't have a lot of time, but we've got 2 articles and 5 minutes left. I think we could manage to get the the stream done on time today, which of course is great news if we can. Right, let's get rid of these things, wait for them all to finish popping up. So, Brazilian unicorn Nubank is to launch crypto withdrawals. The Brazilian neo-banking unicorn Nubank will begin allowing its customers to make crypto withdrawals from its platform following a deal that will let them trade USDC. Per Brazil's live coins, the bank has apparently responded to calls from the Brazilian Bitcoin community. As such, the bank said it will begin allowing its users to make crypto withdrawals from its banking app from next year. The instructor claimed it was unfair that Nubank customers were allowed to buy Bitcoin but could not use the bank's app to pay in Bitcoin. This is a similar situation with lots of other platforms like this. So if you look at Revolut, for example, Revolut, I think it's mainly UK and Europe. They allow you to buy Bitcoin, but that you don't physically buy the Bitcoin. What you do is you have a Bitcoin number on your screen, but you don't have access to the underlying asset. That's the issue at play. So what we really need, and I think, what they call eToro. eToro has got a crypto wallet where you can buy on eToro, send it to your wallet. It takes a couple of days, and then it gets sent to you wherever you want it sending to. So I think we've got two things going on now. We've got the old traditional banks wanting to offer Bitcoin ETFs, and we have the new banks wanting to offer the underlying asset, which of course is Bitcoin. Why do we have these two? Because the older banks, the more traditional banks, they have older clients. They have people in their 60s or 70s that just don't understand Bitcoin. They don't understand crypto. They don't understand online banking. So when you have Nubank or Revolut or whatever, they normally have 18 to 30-year-olds, which are very technically gifted as far as their older peers are concerned. So it makes sense that you have a newer type of bank which will allow you to physically buy your Bitcoin. And the other thing to bear in mind, of course, banks want to keep your liquidity. So if a bank can offer you crypto staking, or it can offer you the ability to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum and Litecoin or whatever, they're going to do it because that means the money doesn't leave their bank. You are not likely, on the whole, as a collective, you're not likely to buy your Bitcoin and just move it all off somewhere. Some people will, but the majority will probably just keep it with their bank. So from their point of view, it's an opportunity, it's not a threat. So as far as I'm concerned, this is great news. Why? Brazil is very pro-crypto. Brazil sees the benefits of crypto. So for me, this is great news, and I'm not going to read too much about it because we're going to run out of time, but we need to see more banks doing this, especially the newer banks. All the new banks should be able to offer this. And I think at some point, what you are going to see is you're going to see a merger between a bank and a crypto exchange. There's going to come a time in the very near future where Exchange Y joins forces with Bank X and creates XY, which is a bank come exchange that allow you to do everything. And that will be called, a Web3 bank or whatever it might be. But it's on the cards, it's going to happen. And what you are also likely to see is some smaller exchanges being bought by bigger banks. So maybe top 30, top 40 exchanges with the licenses being bought out by banks. We did see in the era of FTX, we did see FTX buying banks, but that was more to do with them trying to get the licenses and carry out their nefarious activities. But on the whole, expect to see some kind of bank crypto collabs going on in the near future. So, Bitcoin Yoda accused of using AI crypto trading bots to scam $25 million. This is the last article of the day. Two men have been accused of using pseudonyms, Bitcoin Yoda and Blue Wizard, to steal $25 million in a medley of crypto scams, including AI crypto trading bots and a fake recovery service. According to the DOJ, 51-year-old Australian David Gilbert Saffron and 52-year-old Vincent Anthony Mazzotta Jr. from LA lured victims into various crypto scams that they claimed utilized an AI trading bot that could invest deposited funds in crypto and earn high yield profits. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about this on here because I'm on different platforms, but we have made at least 5 videos about AI trading bots. One of them's reached, I think, 30,000 views now. I think it was called Quantum AI. It was called. Quantum AI is a scam. If you see any single website that tells you it is going to carry out AI trading on your behalf, it's a scam, it's a Ponzi scheme. Please, please do not put your money anywhere near any online trading bots, okay? The exchange that you are on, the exchange that you are using, has built-in bots. It has DCA bots, it has longing and shorting bots, it has all you need to do what you need to do. Don't send your money to a hot wallet, or don't send your money directly to one of these companies. They are scammers. They are going to scam you. And as you can see, $25 million is a lot of money to take out of people's pockets. If you think that's $10,000 or $100,000 per person, then you're talking about thousands of people. And these people need to be arrested and thrown in prison as soon as possible, because each one of them damages crypto. And that's what we don't want. We don't want crypto to be scammed by these people. We want them locking up for a very long time, because once the deterrent is there, people will think twice about it. And that won't get rid of them, but it will reduce the numbers of people trying it. And we just need them. We need them gone. These are just as bad an actor as Sam Bankman-Fried was. They're just as bad. They're just trying to separate you from your money. And as I have said, the last thing I'm going to say before we get to the quiz is keep your money on the exchange that you are on. Do not put your money in a non-custodial wallet like MetaMask or Phantom. Don't do it. Irrespective of how much these juicy DeFi plays are. If you want to do it, send a little bit of your money to a hot wallet and go and have a play. If you know what you're doing, go and get a Trezor or a Ledger. I probably say this 3 or 4 times a week, but I have to keep saying it for the new people that come here. This exchange you're watching us on now is as safe a place as any to keep your money. It's come through the bear market. It's still in one piece. It has proof of reserves. It has KYC. It has all of those other things. It's as safe as any other place to keep your money outside of a cold storage wallet. And I know the majority of people you listen to online don't agree with that statement and will tell you it's not your keys, not your crypto. The second they become your keys, it becomes your responsibility, and then you've got to deal with it when somebody hacks your account. Because you only have to click one link and press one confirm button and your wallet is empty. I'm not trying to scare you, but if you're new to crypto, keep your money where it is, turn on 2FA, turn on mobile phone authentication, turn on anti-phishing on your phone, turn on every single security option you have on this exchange. That's the way to keep your money safe. Now, that is the end of the show. We're going to go on to the quiz. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say goodbye to all of those beautiful people watching on other platforms. You've joined us at the wrong time. If you just come here, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate it. We are back tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Make sure you subscribe and turn your notification bell on so you can see us tomorrow at 11 o'clock.